Hi there, this is Dr. Anna Maria Hilt, herbalist and microbiologist here with Basmati.com, and our herb of the week this week is Figwort, maybe a lesser known plant to some of you. Scrophularia is the genus name, and there are multiple species that are used as medicines. So here in Colorado where I live, and in fact most of the more northern and central states have a species known as Scrophularia lanceolata, which has sort of lance-shaped leaves. On the west coast from Baja all the way up to British Columbia, there is Scrophularia californica, which is the one that I learned in herb school because I studied in California. And then there is a European species that is the one you'll most often find in commerce in terms of being able to find it as extracts, and that is Scrophularia nodosa. And so let me shut this door so it's not quite so loud in here. And so Figwort's a neat plant. It smells like bell peppers kind of, and it looks like a mint. If you don't know mint plants really well, you could maybe easily mistake it as a mint. It even has a square stem like mints do, but it in fact is not a mint. It's in a completely different family than mints. It can be a pretty tall plant, Figwort, and has little tiny flowers, but it is actually quite a handsome plant with really lovely sharp-toothed leaves. And so in terms of medicinal uses, it is the aerial parts of the plant that are used, especially the leaves in particular. Although if you do know this plant and you're harvesting it, you can harvest it with the stalk as well and hang it up to dry. But it's typically used as a tea, or you can also find it commercially as a tincture or make your own, or as a liquid extract. And just really quickly, a liquid extract is similar to a tincture, it's just stronger. It's made via a slightly different technique. Figwort is also great as a topical plant, so it makes a good salve or a poultice, which is where you mash up the plant material and put it on the spot you're wanting to work with. And so what is it used for? It's one of its better known uses is as a cooling anti-inflammatory herb. Cooling energetically, meaning this is really good for people who tend to be overheated, who tend to have a hot constitution. They might have a bright red tongue. They might literally feel warm all the time or have kind of an explosive or angry or highly irritable personality. If they are ruddy complexion, sometimes a bright red complexion can be indicative of somebody who's kind of constitutionally hot. Others of us are cold, right? Those of us who need lots of blankets at night and live in socks all the time. And so this is a cooling anti-inflammatory. And when you hear the term anti-inflammatory, given the word flame or phlegm in that, you would automatically assume that an herb would be cool by its nature. But take turmeric and ginger. Those herbs are warming. But they're still anti-inflammatory. They're warming, meaning that, you know, the person who would be taking those herbs every day would best be a cooler person, like I said, more pale tongue, more easily chilled. And so this brings me into yet another tangent, which is when you are using herbs for yourself, if you can find information on whether it's heating or cooling or drying or dampening, it's not a bad thing to do, because even if an herb has a particular function, reducing joint pain, the other energetics of that herb can also impact you, and you can actually make yourself feel not so great if you're, say, a hot person and you choose to do turmeric every day as your joint herb. Or you might not feel great if you're a really cold person and you choose to do Figwort every day as your joint pain herb. Anyway, enough on herbal energetics. I offer a whole class on that. So for one of my main teachers, actually, this was one of her favorite herbs for arthritis, and it is safe for long-term use in that regard, as long as you don't have any contraindications with it. And the late, great herbalist Michael Moore talked about Figwort for arthritis and joint pain, rheumatic type issues that are worsened by cold and damp weather. And so maybe this is a better herb for your hot person because it's cooling, but it's also a great herb, ironically enough, for people that live in places like Seattle, where that weather might be exacerbating the pain that you're feeling. Another way that Figwort can help with so-called rheumatic conditions, things like arthritis and such, is through diuretic activity. And so this can be relevant to things like gout, which is a really painful condition that comes from excess uric acid accumulation in our joints, especially the toe joint. But waste accumulation in general in the muscles and the joints does increase inflammation and can increase pain. So this is a way beyond its direct anti-inflammatory activity that Figwort might help. Now, this is also a great lymphatic herb. Lymphatic herbs are herbs that impact the lymph system, and the lymph system does many things in the body. It participates as part of our immune system. It participates in waste elimination as well, kind of acts as a vacuum cleaner in the body to suck up wastes, dump them into circulation, and get them out of the body. And so often an herbalist will work with skin issues and such like that using lymphatic herbs, using herbs that help the body's ability to eliminate wastes better. Now, more noise. Let me close that all the way. I live in a really noisy spot. So this herb, Figwort's also good to use topically, as I already alluded to. So it's a great salve or poultice herb. You can put it on itchy bug bites, recent joint injuries, bruises. Michael Moore talks about these uses in his medicinal plant books. Figwort has some mild sedative effects as well, so just very mildly calming. Now, it's not a fast-acting herb. It is one that is often used long-term for people, but you have to be patient with it and give it time. And then you'll start to notice its effects. Now, one little warning I want to give you is that the different Scrophularia species have weak cardiotonic effects due to some weak cardiac glycosides that they contain, a class of chemicals. And so for people not on blood pressure medications, this is not an issue. It's fine unless you have ventricular tachycardia. But you don't want to maybe combine it with heart meds. I know people who have, and it's been fine, but just to be safe, don't combine it with heart meds. Now, the cardiac glycosides seem to be a little bit less in our western U.S. species, maybe a little bit higher in the East Coast U.S. species, and in the European species, Scrophularia nodosa. But it's never been a problem for me or in my practice, but it is one you don't want to take, like I said, if you're already on heart meds or if you have tachycardia, if you tend to have rapid heart rate, especially ventricular tachycardia. But otherwise, a great herb with a great safety record, and it might be one that grows near you, and it is one that if you look, you can find commercially. Just get it from a trusted source. And so until next time, be well. No Milo with me today, sorry.